I've been asked a lot about the best private server for a specific expansion recently, and since I've tried so many of them in the last couple of months, I figured I might as well share my thoughts. And it's usually not like a private server would be the best forever. Only very few private servers have longevity and manage to live a long active life. That's why the best private server from January may no longer be the best in June of the same year. In this video, I will go through every World of Warcraft expansion and tell you what I think are the best private servers as of summer 2022. Starting from the newest expansion, Shadowlands. I don't know what the reason would be for you not to play Shadowlands on retail. My best advice to you is get at least a part-time job so you can afford to buy the expansion and pay the 10 to 15 euros monthly. But if you still insist on playing Shadowlands on a private server, there are a couple options. Probably the best is Firestorm. Firestorm is one of the few private servers which has a future, because it will always release a new expansion where you can continue playing your old characters. Unfortunately, this also means that the expansion and the realm that you started playing on Firestorm originally will die after the new expansion releases on the server. Firestorm's Shadowlands still reaches up to around 2,500 to 3,000 players online at peak, which is nowhere near the good old Legion days where we used to see 7,000 to 10,000 players online, but it's still decent and it is by far the most populated Shadowlands private server. Their Oribos realm is a PvE with times 1.5 experience rates. It is stable and only very rarely ever crashes. There's fairly active PvP, especially in 2v2, random battlegrounds, sometimes even raided battlegrounds. Not so much in 3v3, and of course plenty of people for any type of PvE, including dungeons, raids and Mythic Plus. If you want to level on Oribos, the best way would be to do the Battle for Azeroth content up to level 50 and then move on to the Shadowlands zones, since the BFA and Shadowlands content are the most scripted on the server. The second choice would be WoW Freaks, which only reaches around 1500 players maximum and is pretty much inferior compared to Firestorm in almost every single way. Freaks has been around since Legion in 2017, so you will be able to play your old characters from years past if you ever played there. Not if you played on their Mists of Pandaria realm, since those characters have been deleted. And then there are a couple other Shadowlands private servers, but none that would have the longevity or the popularity of Firestorm or even Freaks. But you could still search for those. One worth mentioning might be Helgarv, which is a Spanish international server with a very low population, but it has solo endgame content option. Overall, if you decide to play Shadowlands on a private server, don't expect impeccable quality. Moving on to BFA, if you like to torture yourself and want to play Battle for Azeroth, there are not many options. However, there is one that I would mention, and that's WoW Circle and their 8.3.7 realm with times 11 XP rates. According to their website, it has somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 players online at peak, but I'm not going to test it myself, so I can't tell you more details about it, but it is an option. If you tried it and can tell us a little more about it in the comments, that would be much appreciated. My favorite modern expansion, Legion, has no real good server I could recommend. There are, however, quite a few options for a casual player. There's UWoW, which is currently the biggest Legion server in the world. It has around 6,000 players online at peak across all their Legion realms. There's a Fun realm, which gives you instant max level. This realm though is empty almost all the time. Their times 100 realm is the most populated with around 4,000 players online at peak, and obviously with times 100 XP rates, it only takes you a couple hours to hit max level on it. The times 5 realm has around 1,500 to 2,000 players online at peak and is a progressive realm that was released in December 2021. Overall, the best choice would obviously be the times 100 realm if you want an active community with many players to do any type of content with, whether it's PvE or PvP. Even my favorite 1v1 arenas. UWoW is not afraid of implementing custom features. One of the most annoying things about UWoW is the language barrier. It is originally a Russian server, so if you don't speak the language, there will be instances where that might be annoying. Other Legion servers you might try include WoW Koi, which I haven't tried personally, but I've already heard about it a couple times. Helgarv, again, they have both Shadowlands and Legion Realm, with the option of doing the endgame dungeons solo, and also Firestorm, which used to be a premier Legion server back in the day. It is a shell of its former self, with only a couple hundred people online maximum. They still have their PvE Sylvanas realm, and also PvP Greymane realm, with a bunch of custom PvP content including PvP zones, dueling zone, 1v1 rated and non-rated arenas. But unless you are in a guild for PvE or want to just queue up for 1v1, this server is dead most of the time. It is a shame because it was a really good Legion server, and it still could be if it got as much love from the Firestorm staff as their Shadowlands do. Unfortunately, the Firestorm team tends to leave old expansions behind. I'm certain if anyone with passion would take hold of Sylvanas and Greymane realms, that they could have been the top options for a Legion private server. There's also the highly anticipated Legion by Tori, which has not yet been released, but the Tori team have been teasing it for a long time. Can't tell you what it's gonna be like or when it's gonna release, but I will be keeping an eye on it and will let you know as soon as there is any progression on it. So don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. Warlords of Draenor. There is none. Surprised? I guess not. Again, there is Firestorm, as with any other expansion, but only has a few people online. By few I mean up to 20 maximum. So you better look for a different expansion. Tori seems to be working hard on the Warlords of Draenor content for their upcoming Legion server, so that could potentially let you play a little bit of it too. Mists of Pandaria is tricky. For the longest time, the go-to for Mists of Pandaria was Tori. That all changed in January this year after the release of Stormforge. Stormforge's Mistblade took away most of the players from Tori and left Tori almost empty with around 1,000 players online at peak. That makes Tori pretty much unplayable for a PvP player unless you're into random BGs at peak time, but it makes no sense to play there if you have a much better option in Stormforge right now. We don't know for how long can Stormforge go on and keep its popularity, since it's only been around for 5 months now, but it seems solid, the scripting is really good, the server is active both in PvE and PvP. Mistblade reaches up to 3,500 people online daily. One more option for the Panda lovers is Panda WoW. I recommend it mostly for the PvP enthusiasts. It is originally a Russian server, but in PvP, who cares? There are 4 private servers for Cataclysm out there. Unfortunately, none of them really shines, they're all just average. There's my favorite, Apollo and Apollo 3, which both offer active PvE, currently Dragon Soul Raid on Apollo and Firelands on Apollo 3, active random BGs in the afternoons, but rarely ever any arena queues, so it's not recommended for PvP players unless you're super patient and able to log on in a very specific time. WoW Circle also has Cataclysm realms to choose from. I have a recent video on WoW Circle on the channel, so just very briefly, you get to choose between ×100, ×5, and a fun realm. I recommend the ×100 realm, which has up to 2,500 people online daily. It is fairly active in PvE and PvP, but the language barrier is really annoying. So unless you have friends to play with, this may turn into a very frustrating experience. It is also heavily paid to win, with even best in slot items purchasable on the donate shop for fairly low price, which makes it almost mandatory for players to donate, otherwise you are wasting time trying to farm it. War Sages, or Varsajes, is a Cataclysm realm that I have heard about from one of my viewers, so I tried it out just recently and I was pleasantly surprised. It is a Spanish server, so much like Circle, you will have issues communicating if you don't speak Spanish. It looks like the server has been around for quite a while and the world feels lively. There are custom PvP zones too. The peak time for the server, however, is American, since most people playing on it are Southern American. Depending on where you live, this could be a positive or a negative. This means I can't tell you how many people there are at peak, since I'm asleep at that time, but it looks to be somewhere between 1,500 to 2,000, which is quite impressive. They seem to have a very incomplete website and no armory, When I asked people around if there is no armory or PvP PvE ladders, they told me there's nothing like that, which is very strange. And the last Cataclysm option is a not yet released but very promising Maelstrom by Sunwell. Sunwell is known for its Wrath of the Lich King realms, but this time in collaboration with Whitemane, they will be releasing a Cataclysm realm. The exact time is not yet known, but the open beta is live since a few days ago, so you can go check it out for yourself. The XP rates on it are only ×2, which is just way too low for me. And I hope they increase them to at least ×5 once it goes live. The most loved, the most hated, and the most overused expansion of all time on World of Warcraft private servers. Wrath of the Lich King, of course. Warmane and Circle fight for number 1 in population, activity, and also longevity. They're both pay to win. I would say Circle even more so than Warmane, since the barrier for entry is much lower. You pay less for a Shadowmourne on Circle, for instance. I've been having a lot of fun in Warmane this year. There's even an option for the newer players to the server to choose to play on Frostmourne Realm, which is a seasonal realm currently on the first season of Wrath of the Lich King content. There's an instant level 80 PvP realm called Blackrock, Blizz-like Lordaeron realm, and ×7 raids Icecrown realm. I have many videos on Warmane, even an in-depth review on my channel, so you can check those out if you're interested. There's also a bunch of active content creators on Warmane whose videos and live streams you can watch on YouTube. There's Obby, Gnev, and Fishbro for PvE. There's Nibai and Meytrix for PvP. Sanmedina also has a few guides on Wrath of the Lich King on his channel, and there are many Twitch streamers as well. If you are a Russian speaking player though, you might consider Circle, since it's pretty much equally as active as Warmane. And then there's like 100 other Wrath of the Lich King private servers. There's one from the aforementioned Sunwell. There's a fresh Wrath of the Lich King from Stormforge. There's Dalaran WoW, which has been around for a long time. There's the Dead Crystal Song by Tori, and so on. And on some of them I also have recent videos on my channel. And there's also Chromicraft, which is a progressive Wrath of the Lich King server worth trying. I have heard many great things about it. The Burning Crusade is still on retail in its classic version, so don't expect any big TBC private service this year. There was Sunstrider that launched like 2 months ago, but I don't know if it's still around. It only had a couple hundred players on it. Worth mentioning is also Ascension. Even though it's not a TBC server, but a custom one, it still has the spells and talents to choose from as you would have on a TBC server. That's why I include it here. Ascension is a modern project writing its own history, with no classes established. Instead, you get to make your own class and a ton of custom features. Active battlegrounds even on low level, the so-called ascended difficulty for PvE content, customized loot tables, and so much more. With a huge population, this server may be one of the best, if not the best, private server out there, even though it doesn't necessarily fit any specific expansion criteria. They even have their own YouTube channel with amazing videos, and if that wasn't enough, there are also talented content creators like MacDoubles, SVK Ascension, or Rafflecopter on YouTube. And there's a closed beta for their upcoming project which has spells and talents inspired by Battle for Azeroth expansion. I'm definitely looking forward to it and want to try it myself once it comes out. I'm not a fan of vanilla myself, so I will redirect you to people like Sanmedina who have much more knowledge and overview of current vanilla servers. There's one vanilla server that's being pretty hyped by the community, and it's called Everlook. So if you're waiting for a fresh vanilla server, this might be the way to go. But it won't be released anytime soon most likely, and then there's a number of small vanilla servers out there, some of which even raid, like Kronos or Turtle WoW, even though Turtle is heavily custom vanilla, but don't expect more than a couple hundred players at peak. And that's been it, ladies and gentlemen. I tried to keep it short and to the point, but we could talk about most of these private servers for at least 10 minutes. If I have left some important information out that needs to be added, please join us in the comment section. And if you have any questions regarding any of the private servers mentioned, or if there is a private server worth mentioning that I forgot about or don't know about, please let us know. I read all the comments and I will try to reply as best as I can. And even if I don't know the answer to your question, somebody else might. Anyway, good luck finding the best World of Warcraft server for yourself. In the end, it's all about having fun in this game.